A routine check, a tragic end, the death of a dog and a human, the beginning of the incident, domestic violence report and initial contact. It all began with a report of domestic violence received by the Fountain Police Department. It was around 11:12 p.m. on May 19, 2023. Police officers sped toward Address 3 on Taos Circle, a quiet neighborhood in Colorado Springs. Upon arrival, they encountered 51-year-old James Boyle in the front yard. James Boyle told officers that his wife had locked him out of his house, so he tried to get in through a window. Interestingly, Boyle also specifically stated that his dog was quite aggressive and didn't want the officers to shoot it. The officers allowed Boyle into the house. The next day in the escalation of tension. The next day, May 20th, 2023, around 6 p.m., the incident location once again came to the attention of the Fountain Police Department. This time, Sergeant Zachary Corey and Officer Destin Alvarez responded to the same address for a domestic violence incident involving James Boyle. Just as the officers had resolved the crime scene and were preparing to leave, Brett Boyle, the adult son of James and Shauna Boyle, arrived on the scene. And this is where things began to get even more complicated. Brett Boyle's statements to the officers were chilling. He stated that his father, James, had threatened to kill his mother and that James had assaulted him in the past. More importantly, Brett told Sergeant Corey that his father had access to firearms inside the house but did not know their current location. This information set off alarm bells for the officers. Gun risk is always a top priority. Following this critical information, the officers decided to speak with Shauna Boyle to get more details. Sergeant Corey and Officer Alvarez parked their patrol car in front of the Boyle home. Both James and Shauna went outside and waited for Sergeant Corey to approach them at the front door of their vehicle. Sergeant Corey asked James to come talk to him. However, James refused, retreated, and asked the officers if he was under arrest. Sergeant Corey reminded James that the Fountain Police Department had received numerous calls about domestic violence incidents at their home, including one the day before. This suggested that this wasn't just a recent incident, but a complex problem that stretched back into the past. Critical moments. Hands in pockets and dog attack. James expressed disbelief at Sergeant Corey and backed away, walking toward the front door. At that very moment, he put his hands in his pockets. This is a red flag for police officers, folks. Do you know why cops constantly ask for hands out of pockets? Because there's a high probability that potential suspects have a gun in their pocket or on their waistband. This is a vital precaution officers take for their own safety. If you've watched this far and enjoyed the video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take a second to support me by clicking the subscribe button. After this crucial warning, James reacted in the exact opposite way, immediately turning and opening the front door. Let's remember that James's son had just informed him that his father had access to firearms in the house. Armed with this information, an officer quickly grabbed James to prevent him from entering the house. That's when a physical altercation broke out between Sergeant Corey, Officer Alvarez, and James. During the altercation, Sergeant Corey pushed James, and James unluckily fell on Shauna. At the same moment, the family's pitbull managed to escape the house as James tried to open the front door. Unfortunately, he attacked Officer Alvarez directly. The dog pinned Officer Alvarez to the ground and bit him on the face and arm. It was a truly terrifying moment, a fatal decision and a tragic outcome, officer. Alvarez, in a moment of panic and pain, broke free from the pit bull's grasp. Even though he was still on the ground, he drew his weapon. Tragically, he shot the dog 4 times, killing it. Alvarez suffered serious injuries to his arm and face. The dog's death is certainly tragic, but considering Officer Alvarez's life-threatening condition at that moment, it's crucial to consider whether he had any other options. At this point, I'm very curious about what the officers did to the dog. Could you share your thoughts in the comments? Immediately after the dog attack, James stood up and began moving toward Officer Alvarez in the front door of the house. Officer Alvarez had holstered his service weapon and drawn his taser. After loudly warning James that he would use lethal force, Sergeant Corey ordered James to stop 3 times. However, James completely ignored these orders. Officer Alvarez fired the taser, hitting James in the chest. Interestingly, however, the taser proved to have no effect on James. James continued to hold on to the front door handle. It was at this critical juncture that Sergeant Corey fired his service weapon twice, shooting James twice in the back. Aftermath and autopsy report, details and discussions. Both officers provided medical assistance to James until paramedics arrived. It was even reported that they cut James's clothing with scissors to determine if he had been shot. Unfortunately, these interventions were insufficient. In the autopsy report, the medical examiner determined that James's death was caused by 2 gunshot wounds. Another shocking detail emerged from the autopsy report. James was found to have been poisoned with 1,500 ml of methamphetamine at the time of his death. This could be a significant clue to the overall course of the incident and why James disobeyed the officer's commands. The perception and reactions of a person under the influence of drugs will be very different from those of a normal person. My opinion and your comments. Friends, in my personal opinion, the police officers here did what they were supposed to do. James repeatedly refused to comply, and a physical altercation even ensued. Furthermore, according to James's son, there was the possibility that he was armed. This increased the risk for the officers exponentially. A police officer must make split-second decisions when their own life or the life of their partner is in danger. Officers were forced to resort to violence. That's why we should always take police warnings seriously, friends. They are trying to ensure our safety at the expense of their own lives. There's another important point to remember. The individual gun ownership rate in the United States is around 42%. In a country with such a high rate, police officers must remain extremely cautious at all times and in all situations, knowing that every incident they attend carries the potential for an armed conflict increases the pressure on them, which unfortunately can sometimes lead to tragic events like this. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel. Your thoughts are very valuable to me. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments about this event below. I'll try to respond to each comment individually. I hope to see you in another video. Take care and goodbye.